Hello, everybody. Mr. Foley here today, recording from the library. Today, we're going to look at the second section, Macro 2, of our macroeconomics unit, which focuses on inflation and consumer price index. Now, I'll say the same thing I always say with inflation. Inflation sucks. I hate it. It's terrible. It's no fun to be a human being and deal with inflation because it's so expensive. And you see that price of goods over time continues to increase. And so you always need more money as you go along because things continue to get more expensive. Really important topic to understand. Otherwise, you're going to find problems in your life if you don't save right and you don't think about these things when making money decisions. And it's obviously something that's going to impact our whole economy as well and how everything operates. So you should have some notes for this section. We will take a look at those as we go along. So here we go. Let's do this thing. All right, inflation itself is the prolonged rise in the general price level of goods and services. So this is as we see the price of goods and services increases over time. It's not 1 year. It could be a 5-10 year stretch, depending on the situation. But you see that in general, prices go up. Excuse me. So when we look at this example here, the price of coffee in 1970, 25 cents, 1980, 45 cents. We see it continues to go up. Now it's possible that in 2000 it was $1, but in 2001 it goes down to 90 cents. But what we see is that over time between 1970s and 2019, in general, the price increases. So that's what we're really looking at with inflation. And, it kind of gets back to that whole back in my day. And I don't know if you have anybody that's older that said this, it used to be, oh, back in my day, a candy bar only cost a nickel. Well, yeah, it probably did cost a nickel, but people were probably getting paid $1 a day. So when we look at inflation, we have to think about how has the world changed. It's real easy to look at a good sports car from the 70s that cost $6,000 and say you're jealous, but they may have only made 15, 20 bucks a day. So you have to always look at what was the income during that period as well. So in time, prices go up. So examples of inflation in your life. Think about anything in your life where the price has gone up over time. I think for me, I think about cars. When I was younger, it seemed like a new car cost around $20,000, and now that same car is costing $30,000 to $35,000. So you see it in big things like that, but you also see it in small things like candy bars. It used to be we could get a candy bar for 35 cents, and now it's closer to 85 cents or $1 or even more. And so we see inflation and the prices rising in all different types of things. So the next term I should say here is purchasing power. And at its core, purchasing power really focuses around what goods and services, actual goods and services, can money buy. And it really determines the value of money. So inflation decreases purchasing power. That means that more money is needed to purchase goods. And so if your purchasing power decreases, you just can't buy as much as you want. And because of this, it's really important to measure GDP and inflation. If you're looking at GDP, because if you don't factor in inflation, you really don't know the value of the goods and services you have. So purchasing power is really important. So we're going to look at trucks for this. All right. Sorry, I'm going to cruise over here now. All right, we're looking at the F-150. So I looked at some statistics, I can't talk today, about the F-150. So here's what we have. In 1986, the F-150 costs $8,300. Okay. And if we look at the household income, is about $52,000 that a normal house was making. So the percent of income to buy an F-150 was about 16% of your household income. 1991, we see an increase in the price of the F-150. The housing amount actually goes down, but it's 23% of your total salary to buy an F-150 then. 2004, an F-150 cost $17,900 new, which is 32% of your salary. In 2019, the household income has gone up about $16,000 since 1986, but the price of the car has gone up over $20,000. So now the F-150 costs 44% of your actual income for that year. And so you can see with a product like the F-150, your purchasing power is dropping. You can't buy as many things because that truck is continually costing more and more. And part of that is inflation. The other part of it is that they have a lot more features that also increase the cost as well. So I think about this when I buy cars. I need to. You know, I bought a car a few years ago that was $20,000, but maybe in 10 years I plan to buy another new car. Well, then I need to think about how much is it going to cost then? Because if I just save $20,000 in 10 years, it's probably not going to be enough. It might need to be $25,000 or $30,000 because the purchasing power drops as inflation increases. So here's your reality check, okay? If you made $18,000 in 1985, this is how much you need to make in each of these years to be able to buy the same amount of goods because the prices of everything go up. So if I made $18,000 in 85, 10 years later, I need to make $23,000. 20 years later, I need $25,000. And now, at my ripe old age of 35 years old, well, this is a little bit off, it's a little bit old, I need to make $32,000. And so you continuously have to make more money. So if this is true, is receiving a raise a requirement to preserve your purchasing power? The answer is yes. You have to continually make more money at your job if you want to be able to buy the same amount of goods. If I go 5 years and don't get a raise, every year I'm basically losing money because my purchasing power decreases because everything else is going up in price, but I'm not making more money. And that's a major problem for me and for my family. That's why I need raises. All right, so how do we measure inflation? How do we figure it out? Well, one thing we use is called the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. And here is what the Consumer Price Index is. It's a measurement of the change in price over time of a specific group of goods and services used in the average household. And so they look at a bunch of different categories, and they look each month to see how much do these things cost. Okay, so they may look at a pair of shoes. They may look at certain housing costs. They may look at medicine, sports equipment. They pick a bunch of different goods, and every month they look at how much they cost, right? And they look at the changes over time to figure out what inflation is, right? So CPI uses what's called the market basket, all right? So the market basket looks at 80,000 plus different goods in categories. And these are goods that are usually needed by people or bought by people. And each month they look at the changes in price, okay? So 23% of the goods they look at are housing. Transportation is 11% of the goods. Health is 6%. And so they may look at something like bacon or milk or cheese or a certain type of medicine or shirts or shoes, whatever it might be. And they just, every month they check the prices nationally and they compare what they're like to see if prices are rising and we have inflation or not. So if we're looking at inflation, how do we calculate that? Well, we take the price in year 2, subtract the price in year 1, and divide by the year 1, and then you multiply that by 100. Sounds easy, right? That's a lot of steps. So if you had books cost $20 in 2016, now they're $20.50. Excuse me, I'm really tired today. Your inflation is 2.5%. Same with the teddy bear here. It was 30, now it's 31.41. Your inflation is 4.7%. So that is your calculation for it. All right, so the last thing you have, I gotta stop this. All right, the last thing you have is on the slides, there's a video. It talks about inflation. It talks about CPI, all that kind of thing. I think it's a great video. I'll link it in to the instruction sheet. Otherwise, it's in the slides. I just can't play it right here. Otherwise, they'll say I'm using copyrighted material. So that's what I got for this topic. You'll be doing a few activities looking at inflation and what it means and what it does too. So if you have any questions, as always, contact me and we'll go from there. Have a great day, everybody.